ABC News. I'm Doug Limerick. A pair of terrorist attacks in Washington and New York City today. It is right out of a disaster movie, but it is...
In Vietnam, American B-52 bomber struck twice near Saigon.
Camp Polk, Louisiana, April 1944.
Darling Buddy, I got your letter this morning. I was waiting on the stoop when the postman came. I can't seem to do much with my day until I see him coming down the block.
My dearest darling Helen, I started this letter 3 days ago, but I can't seem to put down on this piece of paper that we're shipping out.
Something happened here. What it is ain't exactly clear.
Today, Vietnam, May 1967. Dear Mom, happy Mother's Day from your son. I just arrived in town between the chopped plates and the fireworks and the blare of gunfire. It ain't no 4th of July celebration, but have no fear. I've landed with both feet on the ground and I'm surrounded by my fellow Marines. A great bunch of guys from all over the States, even if you hear from good old Philly. I'll try to write it as often as I can, but please don't expect too much from me. Ma, you know I wasn't the best when it came to writing and penmanship, so bear with me. The food here is okay, Ma, but I sure miss your lasagna. Keep smiling, Ma. You always be my best girl.
Brooklyn, April 1944. How's the weather there? Sis and I went down to the gardens yesterday and...
Camp Polk, Louisiana, April 1944. Dear Helen, our shipping orders came Monday. They wouldn't tell us where we're going or when we leave, but we're pretty sure we leave Saturday. Yeah, Saturday. If only they would tell us where we're going. That's the Army for you. Hurry up and wait. But for what? Just keeping you in suspense.
And the grape hyacinths are like a lavender carpet, and the tulips, your favorite, are even more spectacular this year.
Gosh, sweet pea. This is going to be as hard for you to accept as it is for me to write. As miserably hot as it is down here in Louisiana, I'd jump at the chance to stay. But staying in the States has passed me by.
And the daffodils, my favorite, are even more spectacular this year.
On the other hand, I feel that your love will be with me wherever they send me. All my love, Buddy.
Sis and I walked over to the gardens yesterday, where we sat and talked for a while about you and our engagement. She seems to think that I should go ahead and start making plans for the wedding, but I said no. I should wait for you to come home. I still want this to be the wedding that we both dream of. I love you, Buddy.
Vietnam, June 1968. Dear Betsy, I'm writing this letter to say some things because in this flying business, you never know when your next flight will be your last. Please don't think I'm being morbid. It's just we all have to recognize what's going on here in Vietnam. I want to be a comfort to you, but the distance separating us makes it very difficult for me to do so. All I can say is you're in my thoughts during every sortie I fly.
Chicago, June 1968. Dear Jack, your words make me cry. I see you in my teacup in the morning and in the mirror as I get dressed. I see you in the face of every young man I pass in the street. I pick up your picture from the dresser and just hold you in my arms. But Jack, I am so torn by the constant protests that are happening against this war. I know you were doing the right thing over there, but every night when I turn on the television news and I see young men burning draft cards and angry crowds shouting horrible things about our servicemen, I just don't know which way to turn. Help me to understand, Jack.
Now, baby, please don't get yourself so upset. I know we're trying to do the right thing over here, and all I need to hear is that you're with me during this conflicted, unpopular war. I think I'm strong enough to look past this time of uncertainty, as well as to accept my own mortality. But if my plane does not return tomorrow, I will die without regrets.
Till I walks again with you.
South Korea, May 1953. Dear Adam, the heat is unbearable here in Korea. Porkchop Hill is no place to spend a warm Sunday afternoon, especially if you don't want to be shot at.
Atlanta, May 1953. Dear Johnny, Grandma Johnson is crazy about Johnny Jr. She thinks he's getting to look more and more like you all the time. Your mother thinks he takes after me more. You'd be so proud to see how good Johnny is while we say the rosary after supper.
I used to dread those Sunday evening rosaries when I was a boy, knowing that fresh donuts and cold milk will be served afterwards. My impatience always caused some kind of disturbance. Gee, Johnny Jr. seems to be following in his dad's footsteps.
Yeah, I'm out at Brooklyn, down in Tribeca, right next to the Narrow. But I'll be hooked forever, I'm living Sinatra. And since I made it here, I can make it anywhere. Yeah, they love me everywhere.
I was 17 when 9/11 happened. That morning, the TV in the living room was blaring reports of airplanes crashing into buildings in New York City. I told my mom and dad that I would do my part to make sure that this never happened to our country again. So, I joined my high school's ROTC. After graduating the following May, I joined the Army.
My dream was always to become a nurse, so after graduating high school, I attended my junior college's nursing program. Having many brothers kept us all very busy looking out for each other. When one of us got the mumps, we all got the mumps. When one of us brought home the measles, we all got the measles. I guess that's why I became a nurse. And then I became a Vietnam nurse. When I arrived in the war zone, all I could hear was, "Get down! Get down!" I ducked my head. I was there. I was in it. I was a part of it. And it was, and is, a part of me. My daddy, as I left home, took me in his arms and said, "I raised 6 kids, 5 of them boys. They're all men now, and I'm sending my only little girl off to war." That was the first and the only time I ever saw my daddy cry. My first day in the OR, I looked around a room filled with rows and rows of beds. Chaos. The smell. The smell. The yelling. Nurses yelling.
He's bleeding out!
Doctors yelling.
They're taking a pulse.
GIs yelling.
He's bleeding out!
Over here!
A bloody sheet covered his abdomen, and I was ordered to prep him, which meant to clean his wounds and shave him if necessary. And, oh yeah, while you're at it, remove his arm, which is just hanging on by a loose piece of skin. When I received my orders to move back to the States, I got up, put on a new uniform, packed my bags, and went to the OR to say goodbye. The ventilators were popping. It was hot and smelled of blood. Yelling filled the air. It was the exact same as the day I arrived. Nothing had changed.
Friends, May 1944. Dear Helen, I can't remember when I last wrote you, but don't worry, I haven't forgotten about you. My outfit has been moving around so much that I haven't had time to write. I am now in the 4th Platoon, 3rd Squad of Company B of the 1st Battalion of the 10th Infantry Regiment of the 3rd of the 5th Division of the 3rd Army. Boy, what a mouthful. Don't forget that I'm crazy about you.
Brooklyn, August 1944. Wow, what an address. You know, buddy, I feel like I have so much to tell you, but these little email letters just don't give me enough room to tell you how swell you are and how I pray for your return.
Chicago, August 1968. Dear Jack, well, the boys are off in every direction these days. Hank is finally old enough to be a Cub Scout. Bruce is playing Little League, and Paul has taken an interest in a girl. Paul got his driver's license yesterday, so now I have yet another reason to worry. My men, they'll be the death of the end.
Vietnam, August 1968. Betsy, dear, I've been thinking, if anything happens to me, I don't want the memories of me to keep you from marrying again. I don't want you to be alone. Life should be lived to the fullest, so go for it, girl. Live life. That's what it's for.
Oh, Jack, you shouldn't talk like that. I believe that you will be resuming your fatherly and husbandly duties before long.
Keep on smiling, put on some makeup, and buy yourself a new dress. Give the boys a hug and some discipline when needed, and pave the road of your new life for new adventures. As long as I'm remembered, I'll not really be gone. I'll be around in Paul, Bruce, and Hank.
Now, Jack, you shouldn't go on and on like that. You will come home. I know you will. And I will buy a new dress. And I'll have the boys all starched and ready and standing at attention the moment you walk up that walk and into my arms. The boys send their love. Betsy.
I love you, Betsy. Jack.
Well, we were the donut gals. The gals who drove 2-ton army trucks and served donuts. And hot steaming coffee to the men.
Well, we called ourselves the Donut Girls. Molly is my name from down South Alabama.
I'm Alice from California. Alice, my donut companion, and me ended up somewhere in France to serve our boys hot coffee and donuts.
So me and Alice would load our old truck up with sacks of flour, sugar, and coffee,
and cans of cooking oil,
and hit the road by 5 every morning.
What a bumpy ride. Did you know that a greater percentage of donut gals were killed in action in European theater than gals in any of the other women's services?
Put that in your record book, Uncle Sam. In 1945, Alice and I split up.
Alice, was sent to Le Havre.
And lucky me, I was sent to England, where my donut days continued and my jitterbugging days began. There's this large, empty warehouse building where the boys assembled for the next assignments. There's lots of music, and the boys loved to jitterbug. And since I knew a few steps, move over, English gals. I went from being
jitterbug gal. Give them some hot coffee donuts, and jitter they would. And oh boy, could those boys jitterbug.
Have yourself a merry little Christmas.
France, Christmas Eve, 1944. My days are bluer than ever when I think of you. I have to fight back the tears just so my buddies won't see. All of us left in Company B sit around in our dirty uniforms, heavy boots with heavy hearts, and sing peace on earth, goodwill to men.
Brooklyn, Christmas Day, 1944. Sweet, sweet buddy. Mr. Berlin hit right this year. We don't have to dream. We have a white Christmas. I woke up and looked outside to a glorious day. I was elated, but only for a moment. And then I prayed that this would be the last Christmas that we have to spend apart. Buddy, I love you.
I love you, Helen.
I love you, Jack.
I love you, Betsy.
I love you, Johnny.
I love you, Agnes.
In all the old familiar places.
After my basic training, I served a tour in Afghanistan in a non-combat role. Women weren't allowed in combat roles, and they still ain't. While I was serving, my truck was hit, and 3 of my fellow soldiers was killed, while I was badly injured. When I woke up, I found out that my legs were so badly damaged that both of them had to be amputated just under the knee. I can walk around just fine with these prosthetics, but I can't dance no more. I can't wear skirts or dresses. Just pants for me, but that's fine. I can deal with that.
Korea, April 1954. Dear Aggie and little John, I can't explain why I've not written more, but you see, here in this mess, there is not a soldier with a rifle that knows which way to point. We hear the enemy fire, we see the tracers light up the sky, and sometimes we're just lucky, like the other day when we captured those North Koreans.
Atlanta, May 1954. Dear Johnny, I let your mom and dad read your letter. You should have seen your dad's face when you read about those 28 prisoners you captured. That was something else for him to brag about. You're so thoughtful, honey. That's one of the many things I love so much about you, Johnny darling. There isn't any more news, so I'll close for now.
This morning, we encountered face to face a team of North Koreans. They were lobbing grenades and firing at us. As they charged toward us, I fired and hit one in the face. I watched as he fell silent and died almost instantly. Agnes, I can't tell you how awful I feel to have killed another man. I immediately asked God to forgive me and will go to confession the first chance I get. I'm so confused. Agnes, please forgive me as well.
We put little Johnny in kindergarten this week. I do believe it was harder for me to leave him on the first day than it was for him. He seems to be having a wonderful time with the other boys and girls and is learning his numbers and alphabet so fast. Oh, Johnny, I pray that when this war is over that there will be no more wars, so that Johnny and all the other boys and girls can live in a world of peace and freedom. I know that day will come, Johnny, and I'm doing my part to see that it does. 1968. Dear Jack, it's been a week since your last letter. I hope and pray that you were just so busy flying sorties that you haven't had the time to write. Bruce had his first date last night. I drove him to Bloomfield for ice cream sodas and finished my turn as chauffeur by dropping Bruce's girl off at home. He walked through the door. You would have been so proud. Well, it's time for bed. I'll write again soon. Betsy.
Kuwait, February 25th, 1991. Dear Mom, there's sand everywhere. They're calling it Desert Storm. I'm okay, Mom, but some of my buddies are dead. Don't worry about me, Mom. The journalists and film crews are embedded with us now, Mom, but I believe they're not telling the truth to folks back home. Between the wind and the sand, they seem to be looking through rose-colored glasses. The horrors, the hardships, the total disbelief that we are living through this hell doesn't seem to impress them. So don't believe all you see on television and read in newspapers and magazines. We are in a living hell. We lost our first female soldier yesterday. She was only a supply officer, but still, women in war. I need some sleep, Mom. I send my best to my big brothers, Bruce and Paul. Love, Hank.
Somewhere in France, January 1945. Christmas and New Year's were just 2 more days for us. I wish I had some good news to send, Sweet Pea, but I don't.
My buddy, missing you is so painful. It helps if I try to keep busy. Do you remember my friend from high school, Rachel? We met the other day at Abraham and Strauss and walked over to Strauss for a soda where we sat and talked for a very long while. She said that being a Jewish wife in Brooklyn has been very difficult for her. She says that there's so much hatred towards the Jews that sometimes she thinks her parents would have been better off if they stayed in Poland and suffered the oppression that is open there, rather than having to feel the sneers and whispers as she walks down Flatbush Avenue. My darling, I'm trying so hard to do my part and be a good American. I got a job down at the Navy Yards the other day and encouraged Rachel to do the same. It's hard work, but I don't complain. I mean, women all over this country are going to work and keeping house and feeding their families, even with the rations of food and butter. The other day there was no butter to be had, so we bought oleo margarine. It comes in a block, white as lard, with a little packet of yellow food coloring that you mix with the oleo until it looks like butter. But it still tastes like lard.
Sugar, you're sugar enough for me. Keep your head high and never lose that beautiful smile I fell in love with. Yes, I remember your friend Rachel. Tell her to keep her chin up and not lose hope. I pray that when this war is over, we'll all be free to come home and worship as free Americans, Jews and Christians alike. And don't worry about the butter. I'll butter you up as soon as I get home.
Buddy,